TTT versus STT. Where's that at?
TTT is more in CLT. More STT in CLT.
So especially in a language class, you want to try to increase the student talk time, decrease teacher talk time. Right. What do you think would be a good ratio, a good percentage in a language class? A good ratio of teacher talk time to student talk time. Which should be more in a language class? Ideally, the student talk time should be more than the teacher talk time. What would be a good ratio, good percentage?
40-60 would suffice. 40-60.
Which one is 30?
That's why let's go for 40-60.
Ideally, yes, but think about your classes. Even if this is very good, if you can do this in your classroom, I will be amazed.
Really?
You will be amazed.
In JKC classes, we can try this.
Whereas in normal classes, if they are
Yes, sir. Normal classes, we can
What did we say? If your students don't use English, they will never learn. They will never learn. They should start practicing English as soon as they can. If you have only a few words, what is your name? My name is Plakesh. Is that a word? Plakesh? My name is Plakesh. Right? And then immediately, they can practice with each other. Immediately. Every time you teach them some new language, some new grammar, immediately they should practice it. Did you have exposure? In the game. Did you hear English? In the main game. In the main game. Did you hear English?
Yeah.
So much. You heard it again and again and again. My name is I like, she likes, I like, he, she likes. A lot of exposure. Only English. Did you have some motivation to speak?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a game. You all were trying to remember it and speak it. So you had some motivation. Were you using English?
Yes.
Yeah, you were listening, you were speaking, you all had a chance to use it. So that activity was a good example. Very simple English, very simple grammar, but everybody had a chance to practice. So we had very high STT, very low TTT. So we'll keep looking at more activities like that to increase STT and lower TTT. And we call that kind of classroom generally we talk about a student-centered class or a teacher-centered class. So especially in a language class, you want it to be more student-centered. That means the students are talking, doing the activities. And then the teacher, what is the teacher doing? Facilitating. Monitoring. Yeah.
Instructing.
Yeah, so you give some instruction at the beginning, but then after that, the students should be practicing. Okay, I think the lunch is ready. Shall we come back here at what time? 2 o'clock? 2 o'clock prompt, we'll start?
No, you have to suggest.
2 o'clock sharp? Okay, fine. I'll see you at 2.
We are not distributing this TM with evidences
Great.
10 years ago, 8 years ago.
8 years ago. It is 97, something like that.
Yeah.
2007.
2007. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're here now.
Yeah, for Part-3 education, I'm heading there.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Educational officer. I'm a member of workshops like this, George. Still I remember.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
sweet. Oh, wonderful.
చాలా మంచి బ్యాచ్.
ఏంటిది ఇక్కడ కూడా ఇంకా బాగా ఇదేమైనా పిల్ల వీళ్ళు బాగా తింటున్నారు ఆమె కొంచెం ఎక్కువ చెప్తుంది అవునవును తినేసాను స్వీట్ అయిపోయింది స్వీట్ శ్రీదేవి కదా
Vimala.
తెలియదు సార్ బయట ఫోన్లో మాట్లాడుతుంది ప్రెస్ రిపోర్ట్ పంపాడు
And so you were in Hyderabad until you came here?
There is another university called Vedic University. I was deputed there as a registrar of the university. I worked there for 2 years. And after that, assignment for 2 years.
And then will you move back to Hyderabad?
I don't know because hardly I have 2.5 years service. I have settled in Hyderabad, but I have plans to settle in this place. Practicing these CNC techniques in their classrooms, and it was not only beneficial to them, and it was also beneficial to the students. And I am very glad that again the George has come to train another batch of the students. It's a very wonderful opportunity. Please don't miss it. Make use of every minute of your stay here. He's a very wonderful person, and you have to make use of this opportunity. And I wish this program, this phase of programs, all the best. And I wish to join George in the coming days. Also, to know that he is staying up to 6th of this month here. And whenever I find time, I would like and I would love to be here to share. I am so much attached to the program. I am not an English lecturer, I am a botany lecturer, but I have moved with several, you are all new places, but in earlier, almost 227 English lecturers across the state. I remember every lecturer by name because I was with him for 7 days arranging for the program, sitting in the back benches observing the program. And it was also a very, very wonderful experience for me, and I'm very, very happy that you got this opportunity this time. And I wish and I request all of you, please pay your attention, take the benefit of this program. It is a wonderful program. It will enrich your skills and knowledge in how to teach the safety techniques. So with these few words, I once again express my thanks to George for having invited me to come over here to interact with the new faces. I'm very, very happy, George, for inviting me here, and I look forward to meeting you in the conference. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you have some ability years, and at the end of 5 years, you cannot have a simple conversation, is that competent? That's not competent. Right. So even if you know grammar and you can pass a test, if you cannot communicate, then according to this theory, you don't know the language. So here the focus is on how well you can use the language to communicate. Not only can you answer the exam questions, but can you use the language. So the real test in this, the real test of how well you know the language is how well you can communicate in the language. I'll tell you a little story. When I was teaching in Azerbaijan, you know Azerbaijan? It used to be part of the Soviet Union. And I was teaching there for 2 years. And in Azerbaijan, my students, I was at the University of Languages in Azerbaijan. And the students would study English for 5, 6, 8 years. At the end of 6 years, they knew a lot of grammar, but they could not speak a word. And sometimes I would meet the students in the hallway, and I would say, oh, Muzaffar, how are you today? And Muzaffar would say, teacher, automatic English, no. Automatic English, no. Right? He meant, I cannot speak English spontaneously. Right? Even though he had studied it for 6 years, he could not have a conversation. So he would say he did not have communicative competence. Maybe he knew some grammar, but he could not communicate. And CLT also says that you should teach the 4 skills linking with a link to communication. So always the emphasis is on communication. Whether it's speaking, listening, reading, or writing, you always link it to communication. So those are the 2 main ideas for CLT. In your handbook, you have a reading about CLT. And this afternoon, if we have time, we're going to do a reading activity with that. But if we don't have time, you can read it at home. It's that way. But for now, if you take this handout and you try to answer it, you will understand most of the main principles, or the 10 main principles of CLT, if you complete this handout. At the bottom are the answers. You have to put the answers in the correct place. I'll give you 8 minutes, 8 or 10 minutes to try to complete all of that. Okay? And then you will know everything about CLT, or at least the main ideas about CLT. People learn best when they feel. Are you comfortable? Yes. Think about your students. If you call on a student, for example, I say, sir, stand up. Stand up. And quickly tell us, what is the capital of New York? Right? If you make your students stand up in front of the whole class, and you're testing them to see if they speak English, maybe they'll be so nervous that they can't speak anything, right? You can sit down. So think about how you can, if it's true that you learn best when you're comfortable and relaxed, how can you do that in your classroom? So we'll look at how pair work helps with that. Number 3, in the CLT class, the teacher serves primarily as a... In this activity, what did I do? I had to make this at home, and then I explained it and I gave it to you. Number 4, language needs to be learned in context, not in isolation. This means, for instance, if you are teaching students vocabulary for different foods, right? Milk, sugar, bread, and you give them a list of words to learn. Immediately you should put the vocabulary in context and say, now imagine you have to go to the shop and you have to buy some items for your mother for dinner. So immediately they're using it in a realistic context, not just abstract. The same with grammar. If you're teaching them past tense, immediately they should use it in some realistic situation. That's what it means. So not just memorizing charts of grammar, but using the grammar. 5, authentic and meaningful communication is the goal of classroom activities. 6, errors of form may be tolerated during fluency-based lessons. Right, so we have to divide our activities between fluency activities and activities for accuracy. If it's a fluency activity, we don't mind so much if they make mistakes. They're just practicing. When you practice the piano or whatever, you will make mistakes. When you have a concert, you cannot make any mistakes. But when you practice, you can make mistakes. In the classroom, the students are practicing. They will make mistakes. Yeah? So you let them make the mistakes. If they have to give a presentation, then you focus on the accuracy. Or if they have to write something, then the focus is on accuracy. But every utterance does not have to be perfect. 7, learning is a process of creative construction. It involves trial and error. Building, right? They're learning the language, they will make mistakes. 8, activities that involve
Real communication. Real communication.
Remote learning. 9, language that is
Meaningful.
I remember in at the textbooks they used to use in the government degree colleges, maybe they use the same textbooks. There were a lot of poems, you know, romantic poetry. Yeah, from Coleridge and so on. And the students had to memorize the poems. And they're very lovely poems, but maybe they do not have so much meaning for your students unless they are studying English literature. So how can we make the lessons meaningful and practical for our students? That's the question. And finally, 10, activities in which language is used for carrying out meaningful tasks. Yeah, this is similar to activities where they have to do something and then make some presentation. Here we have the answers if you want to double check. Okay, here's your real test. Here's the test. Here are some typical classroom activities. Also out of the classroom. Look at these activities and say which activity or activities is communicative. See what you think. Which ones use real communication? By yourself, you decide. By yourself. Real communication. You were right. Only one. me. If I say, students repeat after me, George is my teacher. Repeat. George is wonderful. Thank you. Real communication? No. I can teach a parrot to do that. You know a parrot? I can teach a parrot to do that. But am I communicating with the parrot? Maybe not. Doing oral grammar drills. I like. Say I like. I like. You like. He likes. Communication? No. Reading aloud from the course book. No. Giving a prepared speech. What about that?
To some extent.
Sir, see, it is a course book.
So, for instance, if I ask,
If it is some story book, I should have known. Can it be commented? This course book is,
can you still I'll just read this aloud.
if the story book is not known, then it will be communicated.
Okay, we'll try it.
Communicate to course content.
Is this C?
There are many ways to teach language.
Okay. This is C.
There are many ways to teach language. One is called communicative language teaching, CLT. The goal of CLT is to enable students to communicate in the target language. The method is learner-centered with an emphasis on communicative activities that mimic real-life instructions.
No communication possible.
Communication?
Only reading and listening.
Yeah. And maybe you weren't even listening. Maybe, he's over here, he's sleeping, he's scratching his ear. It's not communication. Okay? You agree?
He's coming his feelings.
Okay.
Yes, sir. What is communication? Yeah, word.
E, acting out a scripted conversation.
What do you
think? Scripted conversation. What do you think? Here, we'll do another example. A, I'm B.
You want me to read
And if you're A, I'm B.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Next question.
How was lunch?
How was lunch?
Great. Communication? Yes? Communication?
Yeah, conversation. Only conversation. That was business conversation.
Communication?
That is conversation. Find out the conversation is communication.
It's reading. It's not a conversation, we're reading. We're reading. We're reading. We're not having a conversation, we're reading. Oh no, it's here. We're reading it. It's not a conversation, we're reading it. We're reading. We're reading.
Even by reading, you communicate something. The message is passed.
No, we're reading. We're reading.
It's fine.
What I said here.
So message is sent now. Now can you say
Again, another dialogue.
Based on reading.
What is your name?
Rosalind. Communication?
No.
It's not real. It's not real. We're reading. We're reading out loud. So it's not a scripted dialogue. It's not communication. It's only reading. So if your students are standing and reading dialogues, and you're going, oh great, they're doing real communication. No.
Read or read the.
They're only reading. They're only reading. It's not communication. F, give giving instructions so someone can use a new machine. Is it communication? So, we'll demonstrate. Sir, I don't know how to use this projector. What do I do? Tell me. What do I do? What do I do? Switch it on here. Here? And then plug it in here.
So this is the communication.
Yeah. You see?
Without training.
You agree? You agree that's communication? We agree?
But orally you are not responding now.
Yes, I was.
No, orally you are not responding to me.
Not necessary. Listen. If I'm doing it correctly, yeah,
Yeah.
that's communication. He's giving me commands, I'm responding. That is communication. There's a technique in language teaching called total physical response. TPR, you know it? Where you begin. This is it's a method of language teaching that says that you should begin teaching a language the same way you teach children. When children are learning languages, when they're learning to communicate, their first communication is just physical. So you say, come here, sit down, give me the ball, go there, be quiet, don't touch that. Are they speaking in response?
No.
No. But they understand you. And because they can demonstrate it physically. Nonverbal communication, right. So this method of language teaching says that you can also use this in the classroom. So for very beginning levels, you don't expect the students to make full sentences, but they respond with actions. So you say, come in, sit down, open your books, like that. And they're responding with actions. And it's a kind of communication. And you have games like this too, like with young learners. You say, students, take your right hand and touch your nose. Now, touch your leg. And if they can do it, then it's communication. So, F, we agree, that's real communication. G, individually writing and then reading aloud a conversation that includes lots of examples of a new grammar structure. This is the same, this is reading aloud. Unless the listeners have some response, then it's not communication. If the listeners have some response, it is communication. If they must do something. Page 1 learner describes a picture in a textbook while the other students look at it. What about that?
Slowly reading.
Yeah, a little tricky. I have a very colorful picture. Here are some red colors and some white colors. I don't know what this is. It's some kind of a house. It looks like a mushroom. And here's a girl, and here's another girl, and there's a birdhouse. I'm describing the picture. And what are you doing?
Just listening and watching.
Maybe. If you're good students, you're listening and watching. But there's no requirement for you to listen and watch. I didn't give you a task. Maybe you're listening. Maybe you're thinking about tea. You're thinking, when is the tea break? Right? I don't know if you're listening. Right? Maybe he is already thinking about, he's thinking, I want to go to the guest house and take a nap. I had so much to eat at lunch, I can't stay awake. You don't know if they're listening unless they have some task. If I say, students, I have a picture. I'm going to describe the picture you try to draw it, and I don't show them the picture, but I will describe it, and you must draw it. Is that communication?
Yes.
Yes. Because you must listen and do something.
But
See
my
the
doubt
difference?
is, sir, my doubt is,
Yeah.
on the part of the learner, some kind of communication is taking place. On the part of the learner, some sort of communication is taking place.
Yeah, that's why it is.
In which one?
One learner describes the
That's
picture.
why it is communication.
Then, on the part of the learner who describes the picture, maybe taking place some communication.
I don't understand. The student who is describing the picture.
Yeah.
No, but if I'm describing it and you're not listening, it's not communication.
But from the point of the view of the one who reads and describes the picture.
That's not communication. If I go into the closet and I read it out loud, is that communication? If I go into the bathroom and I read this out loud, is that communication? No. If nobody hears it, it's not communication. Right?
So you mean to say partial communication also doesn't take place? Partial communication.
I don't think so.
This reading activity communicates to the
If you're reading just by yourself, and it's not.
The boy is describing.
I laugh at, what is that? If you read a joke, if I read it, if I laugh at it,
Yes.
Communication.
Yes. Yes.
so reading is a communication.
Yes.
It's a part
Yes.
of communication.
Yes. Yes. Yes, because you have a reaction.
Yes.
But if I go and I read it by myself, if I read the joke by myself in the bathroom, is that communication? No.
There is communication, I think.
Sir, the picture is being described in verbal communication. In this case, picture, a graphic picture, is being described in the way of using verbs in communication. Some communication on the part of the learner who describes the picture will be taken. I feel so. Sir?
That's a communication.
Okay, look, you take this picture, you go outside and describe the picture.
No, no,
Go
the class
outside.
itself.
You have to understand.
So, but again, I'll do it.
Self-communication.
You can see there's a picture here, there's some red and some white, and there's a girl, there's another girl.
Sir, if they suddenly react, I want to say something. Provided all the participants are separated the same.
Look. Are they listening? Those two ladies.
This is not communication. I'm happy with them.
I was describing it. They were doing something else.
If they respond, if there is some communication, if they respond to your listening,
Yes, if they respond.
if they respond to the reading, understands and wants to answer.
Sir, unless I am equipped with some communicative skills, how can I describe the picture?
What?
Unless I am equipped with some communicative skill, how can I describe that picture?
That's speaking skills. That's speaking skills. Yeah, speaking skills. Yeah, don't confuse communication with speaking. You can have speaking skills but no communication skills. Right? Speaking is not automatically communication. Okay. It's a good discussion. We'll continue at lunch or at tea. We'll continue at tea.
There must be minimum presence.
100% involvement.
We'll talk about it more in tea. It's an interesting question. And, you know, there are whole studies of the communication loop, right? The speaker and the listener and how to give a response. And I don't know a lot about it, but just from a language teaching point of view, communication requires it's a two-part, right? Two people have to participate. They both have to be active somehow. Okay, so how can we increase communication in our classroom? If you have 30 or 50 or 80 students in your classroom, how can you practice real communication? So we're going to look at some techniques of classroom management. First, let's think about different patterns of classroom interaction. Classroom management, we use these symbols. T is teacher, student, and so on. Think about the workshop so far this morning. And by yourself, see if you can jot down, using symbols, the different classroom interactions we've had in the workshop so far. See if you can do it. In the workshop so far, which patterns of classroom interaction have we used? Try to write it. Yeah.
Students and students.
By yourself, try to write. Try to remember what we've done. Do we have some one-on-one?
Yes.
When I told you to check it with your neighbor, did we have this? When? Student to students, when did we do that? No, in this workshop.
Here one. Here one.
This one. Did we do it?
Maybe presentation space.
Did we do this today? That's what I'm asking. Same game. One student stands up and is speaking to all the students. They're student to students. Same game. One student talking to all the students. And have we done? When I ask you for your answer, when you're talking to me, version of this here, 10 patterns of classroom interaction. By yourself, take 3 or 4 minutes and just quickly read through those and see if you understand all of them. I think you'll recognize all of them. Some kind of silent student response, such as writing from dictation, but there is no initiative on the part of the student. That is an example of teacher talk. What was I doing? I was talking. What were you doing? Maybe you were listening. Maybe. That's teacher talk. Number 2, class, repeat after me. Oral responses, repeat. The teacher gives a model. Repeat. The teacher gives a model. That is repeated by all the students in course. The teacher asks a question which all the students answer in course. Sometimes simply called the trained animal act. That's an example of that. 3, close-ended teacher questioning. Students, can anybody tell me what is close-ended teacher questioning? Who has the answer? What is close-ended teacher questioning?
Yes, no.
One answer.
Yes, no. Yes, no.
Very good. Or actually, you can just read that. Read it for us. What is close-ended teacher questioning?
There's only one right response to the other question. One right answer.
Continue.
Also for the guest, what the teacher wants you to say A.
Right. So that's an example of close-ended teacher questioning. Look at number 4.
Multiple answers possible.
Teachers, what is the advantage of using open-ended teacher questioning in a language classroom? What do you
Students
think?
get an opportunity to speak up.
Yes.
Students get an
Yes. What else? Some other advantages of using open-ended questioning.
Students will start thinking. They'll start thinking.
More thinking. Some other advantages. They use their imagination.
How was the lunch?
Huh?
How was the lunch?
They will start discussing.
Yeah.
Students may start discussing.
So that's an example of open-ended questioning. There are many possible answers.
Lunch was very good, you know.
Many students can give different answers.
How was the lunch?
Listen, yeah. Let's see. Number 5, full class interaction. Did we do any of that this morning?
Yes.
The name game. Everybody was participating. So that's kind of an example of that. Number 6. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Yes, sir. What does student initiates and teacher answers mean?
Oh, thank you. Very good question.
This is
Well, that means the student asks questions and the teacher responds.
Max.
That was a demonstration, right? 7, group work. We're going to have a demonstration in a minute. Have we done group work already?
Yes.
A little bit, very informally. I told you to check your answers with your group. Pair work, we've also done that informally. In a minute, I'm going to show you some techniques. Individual work, have we done that? What did you do? What did you do with this? By yourself? Yes. So you read it by yourself. That's an example of individual work. And then finally, self-access. This means, for example, if I say, students go home and research CLT, and tomorrow you will give a presentation. So all of the responsibility is for the students, like a research project. Or for example, some teachers like to keep a library in the back of the classroom, some English books. And so maybe I would say every Friday afternoon, for 1 hour, you can go choose any book you like, read silently for 1 hour, and write 3 sentences about the book. Self-access. You choose any book you want, and you work at your own speed. That's an example. So, if you look at all these different patterns, generally, they move from what to what. They're in an order. Can you see the order? Here, it's what? Teacher. And here at the bottom. So which ones are more teacher-centered? Which ones are more student-centered? So here at the top, we have what? Teacher-centered. Here. So generally, this moves from what? Teacher to student. Yeah, or student-centered, yeah. So in our classes, in a language class, we're trying to move more this way. Okay? If you have a science class or you're giving a science lecture, you might not use so much of this. But in a language class, remember we said language is a skill. And the students, if they want to learn English, they must what? If you want to learn English, you have to use it. right? So down here, we're trying to do more student-centered activities. Okay, fair? Are you cold? Are you freezing? Maybe tomorrow you have to sit over there. Or we can adjust it?
Yeah.
Yeah.